Hey, it's me, Rachel. Now, first things first, this situation, okay? I was just getting ready this is my work shirt, you see, and I was just getting ready to go and do some bits and bobs outside, like I've got some things to pot on, you know how it is. And then I remembered that I was supposed to do a video. So I've quickly dashed here. We have a whole hair situation. Anyway, and then whatever's going on behind me, speak to Phil about that one. So really, I'm here not to talk about my show or the messy office, but to talk about Link. Now, those of you who've lived in Highworth for some time will know about Link magazine. If you've just moved here, hopefully you've seen Link magazine, and if you don't live anywhere near here, then you haven't got a clue what I'm talking about. Link magazine is our community magazine that is run by Churches Together. We have been publishing that magazine in Highworth now, and the surrounding areas, of course, for about 52 years. And I have been editor for about 2.5 of those years, which is quite exciting, really. So the magazine and I are about the same age, which is also very exciting. I came into the magazine as editor after quite a swift changeover of a number of different people who'd been in that role. We'd had a fairly static situation for a number of years, which gave it a level of stability. But then we hit COVID, didn't we, of course, and the whole world seemed to go to hell in a hat, frankly. So Link wasn't spared from that either. And so there were some changes in personnel, and then I came into the job, as I say, a couple of years ago. I've promised God 5 years, so we'll see how long he has me in this role. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of background about Link, and then bring you up to date with where we are at the moment, and then make a request at the end, if that's okay, and if you're not distracted by the whole pain on the shirt thing. Link, as I say, was founded about 52 years ago, predominantly led by Reverend Brian Phillips, who was the vicar at the time at St Michael's. And he and his curate, they had this brainwave that they would produce a magazine that was not a parish magazine, which had been produced in Highworth since, well, golly, at least the 1920s that I could see, and probably much further back than that. I'm really not sure. But they, in the 1970s, decided they wanted to do something a bit more, a bit more with that, and wanted to produce something that would kind of bridge the gap between the churches and the community. And so they got together with the Methodist Church and the URC, and all three churches agreed to fund a magazine. The reason that they were funding it is because they wanted it to go out free to every house in Highworth and the outlying parish of St Michael's, which included Hannington, for example. And so they got together, and as you would imagine, it was the 70s, so it was produced on that nice, do you remember that, those of you who are old enough, that very nice yellow paper? I don't know if the world had white paper then, but this was always on yellow, typed. And then what would happen is the little articles would be typed up, cut out, stuck together, and then they would go on a Gestetner and churn them out in that way. Everything was done by hand. It involved a lot of people. It was all done round a kitchen table. And it continued like that for, I reckon, from the records I've seen, probably about 15 years they were doing it like that, well into the 80s. Obviously, it's changed throughout that time, and it's had various incarnations. It has always been that kind of size. So we now stand at a B5 size. It's always been those sort of proportions. It's never been any bigger. But the amazing thing about it, I could give you lots of history, but the amazing thing about it is, to this day, it is still a free magazine. We produce almost 7,000 copies, and every home in Highworth should receive one. If you don't receive one, give me a shout. Plus outlying areas, we go out into Sevenhampton, Stanton, Fitzwarren, almost into Lechlade actually, into South Marston, all kinds of areas, Blumsden, etc., etc. If I've missed you out, it's not because I don't care, it's just because I haven't got the list firmly in my head. And that's such a privilege. We also go, we're able to pop copies, we're able to pop copies into high street shops in Highworth, and just the places where people are, into the library, into the community centre. We don't really have a lot of excess left over each month, so we can only presume that people are reading it, unless they're using it to light their fires, of course, which I don't need to know about. We have a situation at the moment with Link. We are run almost entirely by volunteers. We have a couple of people who are self-employed. One of those takes care of our advertising and the other takes care of our production. And then there's me. Everybody else really is on a voluntary role. And most of them have been volunteering for a very, very long time. Our dear old Clive Hall, not old, I didn't mean that he was old. But Clive has been taking care of distribution along with Peter Croton from St Michael's, and neither of them, although I've just said that Clive's not old, neither of them they're not spring chickens. They're not spring chickens. And they get tired. The other group of our volunteers, there are about 80 volunteers who take out the Link and distribute to the homes as I've described. Some of them have been distributing since the magazine began. So I guess they could have started when they were 8, but a lot of them are quite elderly now. Clive particularly is at a point now where he just needs to take a bit of a break and wants to relinquish some of his role within Link. He has been responsible for 10 years now for the distribution. So what he does is he coordinates the delivery of the magazine to the community centre. He then coordinates the allocation of magazines to the various areas that they go to the different streets that they go to. We have how can I describe them? Like head distributors who take care of a patch, and they'll deliver them to those people who deliver within their area. Does that make sense? Like little sort of team managers. And he coordinates all of that. Rafts and rafts of paper that he goes through probably in a year just to sort all of that out. Now, that part of things he can do really well. So he can still do all our paperwork, right, Clive? He's superb at that, but his body is letting him down a little bit. And we desperately need maybe 1-2 people to help Clive with the physicality of the Link. And that simply is unloading, yes, about 7,000 copies from the van and placing them in the room. It's all very straightforward. If I tell you, I've done the job a couple of times now. So if I can do it, other people can do it. Placing them where they need to go, and then packing up a car so that they can then be taken out to distributors. And we could do with someone then who would drive those to those distributors. So what I'm saying is we need 1 or 2 people. Someone who can lift and carry boxes of the magazine into the community centre, and somebody, and it could be the same person, who's then prepared to take some of those out to our distributors. So that's a real need for the magazine. If you're sat there thinking, well, I already volunteer for so much, good on you. I'm so pleased that you do. And maybe this isn't for you, but perhaps you've got, I don't know, I think it's probably 4 hours a month. It all happens within the same couple of days, of course, at the end of every month when we have the magazine to deliver. But if you did have some time on your hands and you felt it was something you could get involved with, you need to understand that you would be part of mission. It is a mission. This magazine is God's magazine. He's not said yet, let it go. Let it go. He's not said, let it go. And so we continue with it. It is an enormous privilege, don't you think, to be able to go into people's home every month. I mean, what other church can evangelise in the way that we're able to. God's given us this incredible opportunity, birthed, as I say, over 50 years ago, to tell people about Jesus. Now, you may think, oh, well, the magazine isn't a Christian magazine. Well, it jolly well is. You see, we don't need to say the name of Jesus to be witness for him. When I am editing that magazine, I'm making sure that God is in every page. I pray over it before I ever set it down. When I receive articles into the magazine, I don't always put everything in. I certainly won't put anything in that's bad news, that's complainers, that will spread ill feeling, because let's face it, you get enough of that through screens. And so we are, I hope, bringing a sense of culture and community. When I say culture, I don't mean like cultured, opera or those kind of marvelous things. I don't mean that kind of culture. I mean, it's just a sense of who we are at heart, and trying to encourage a further sense of community within Highworth. Things are changing as new families and individuals move into the area. We're set to have another, 250, 280 houses. So as a town, we particularly are growing, but I know that the outlying areas are growing too. And yet every month, the churches of Highworth still have that honour of being received into people's homes. People read it, whether they're Christian or not, whatever age they are. And that just blows my mind, really, when I think about it. I mean, these poor folk are having to look at my photograph every month. Every month they get me in their house, but nobody yet has complained. So maybe they throw, darts at me or something. I'm not sure, but we seem to be okay so far. So you could be part of something really huge in this area. It is mission. Mission doesn't just happen in countries far away. It happens right on our doorstep. And for me, in my opinion, this mission of Link Magazine is as important as any mission out on the streets of Swindon. Any of those one-to-one things that we see. This is absolutely crucial, I believe, to the mission of the church in this area. So if you're interested in getting involved, if you want to be part of something that matters in this area, if you've got enough muscle to be able to move a few boxes, because I have seen, so you can too, then please give me a shout. I'm going to put my email address here or somewhere, and you can email me directly at the magazine, or you can catch me at church if I'm there and you're there at the same time, or you can speak to Matt, of course, who generally knows everything, doesn't he? So please let us know. I would encourage you to really think about it, but not think about it so hard that you talk yourself out of it. We are a lovely team, and you would be so welcome. Please have a think, as I say. Have a pray if you need to, and get in touch soon. Thanks for listening. I'm now going to go and do some potting stuff with sunflowers and whatnot. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Take care, guys. Bye.